Well, when we heard that Dan had been in the accident, and we were, just trying to figure out how we can help. Everybody's trying to help. We wanted to have the right words to say, do all the right things, and we realized that words can never make the situation better. So we wanted to take action. We wanted to do something, and so our neighborhood got together and said, "What would Dan do if this were anybody else in our neighborhood, in our church, in our community? What would Dan do?" And he would take action. He was such a man who, if you knew him for 5 minutes, you knew that he loved you and that he loved your family. And so we as a community knew that we needed to pay that forward back to this family. And so we got our heads together and resources together, and we said, okay, we're going to do something about this. They were in the middle of this remodeling project. What can we do to love on them and show them love? And before we knew it, we had everybody in this community saying, what can I do? What can I do to help? And it took one phone call and one ask. This is what we need. You have the resources. Can you do it? And it was an automatic yes. And before we knew it, we had a new roof, and we had kitchen work being done, and we had landscaping being done, and we had all of these huge projects just being given to us because people were compelled by this crazy, authentic love for Dan and for his family, for the situation, the opportunity to be a blessing by being a blessing. It was just this contagious effort, and it was effortless. It was just this thing where we said, this is what we want, this is what we need, and you have it, and we need it. Will you please give it to us? And people just jumped on board, people who knew the family, people who didn't know the family, people who knew us, people who didn't know us. And before we knew it, we were planning something that started off with, let's help them finish the kitchen, to let's just do as much as we possibly can. And that is what we are seeing now this weekend through this makeover project, is just a culmination of Cincinnati coming together to show love and to be a family and a community, which is really what it's all about.
So how long is the project slated to go? Because it looks like there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of activity around the home, and we've got some big things happening tomorrow as well.
That's right. So last week we had a roof put on. There's been ongoing kitchen work being done. Tomorrow, Saturday, is going to be the community day where everybody comes together and we do landscaping and cleaning and get the house prepped for the work that's going to be done next week, which is carpet laying, finishing the kitchen. New windows are going in, painting, all sorts of little tiny projects that require professionals, but the community really wanted to help. So tomorrow is going to be this day of just coming together to celebrate this awesome life and this wonderful family and be together as a community. And then we'll finish it with the vigil tomorrow evening up at the Anderson station.
One of the things I noticed when Mrs. Muscarella came out of the house and saw the shutters, it just made me feel wonderful. How do you feel when you see her seeing these things done to her home?
It just blesses my heart to know that people love each other. We love each other so much. There's so much bad. We hear so much bad all the time, but there's so much goodness happening in our community, so much goodness happening within our own neighborhoods that we don't get to talk about and don't get to see. And when she came out and we saw that look on her face, we can't make this situation better, but we can do something. And to see that just by simply being available and saying yes to love, we get to experience a little bit of joy, just a little bit of joy in the midst of this sorrow. And that's what I love. It says in the Bible that sorrow may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And we're all just beginning to just get a little glimpse of joy in the midst of this. So,
does it feel good to be a part of this community? I mean, the whole cul-de-sac seems to be into it. It's not just you. It's not just this person. It's like the whole community. And it's different in some neighborhoods. It's different in some communities where people don't love their neighbor. Does that feel good to you to be in a neighborhood, in an area where people are going to do the right thing and they're going to do what they can to help out?
Absolutely. Anderson Township has been phenomenal, and when they knew we were doing this, it wasn't a chore for them. They said, what do you need? How can we fill this need? What can we do? And it just feels so good to know that if this were to happen to anyone, that there would be this group of people who wouldn't just say, oh, how can I help? But they would be ready at your doorstep saying, I'm going to help. And that is unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
Did I leave anything out you want to add? Is the public invited, or is it what's happening tomorrow with the vigil? Is that something that is just kind of restricted, or you can be honest about
Oh no, it's good. The work day has been kind of restricted to professionals and close friends because this is such a sensitive subject, but the vigil is open to anyone who has been impacted by this story, anyone who says, yes, I want to be part of a community that comes together and prays over a family and unites as one to say, we've got you. This is not over. Like, we are going to stand behind you as long as you need us to, standing in the gap for you, continuing to provide the things that you need because we love you and we have been impacted by not only Dan's life, but the life of this family and this community.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I wish I lived in Hamilton County instead of Claremont now. No, I think my neighbors are nice too. I have good neighbors too.
Yeah.
Natalie, just tell us about today.
You know, today is the day where we are going to honor Dan Muscarella. He loved with such an incredible passion. He loved so many people. And so this is our way to show Lynn and her family how much we love them, how much we appreciate them. This community has come together to do that in a way of doing something, not just talking about it, but taking action.
You talk about doing something. We've seen a new roof go in. Jason Sperry and I have been inside of this house. Jonathan, the kitchen is going in. There are just a small army of
All I had to do was get on Facebook and say, this is what I want to do. I want to finish what Lynn and Dan started. Before I knew it, I had contractors and people calling me with connections saying, we want to be part of this. And within 2 weeks, we had major projects underway, in the works, financially covered. We, as volunteers of this team, have had to pay absolutely nothing to see all of this done through the generosity of the community and local businesses as well as national businesses.
Ricky's, the contractors. That's a $7,000 roof that's gone on. Great financial contribution made for this family, for a man who certainly deserves it here on Fruit Hill Lane. Coming up, Jonathan, the next half hour, we're going to get a chance to talk with Lynn as she shares more about her husband's story and just the generosity of this community.
My name's Natalie, and I'm the worship teacher here at Horizon. I've been part of the community for about 3 years and on staff for about almost a year, so love getting to be part of this church community. You know, Horizon's whole mission is around serving people who are unconvinced. And so when we serve at Horizon, it's something that goes beyond what we're comfortable with, and it puts us in a situation where we're serving other people and love. When we're compelled by love, when we're compelled for love for God, but also love for others, serving is a way that allows us to give of ourselves in an unselfish, unscary way. And so when we serve other people, it takes the focus off what we're comfortable with, what makes us happy, and it allows us to do something that makes somebody else happy. And it's crazy how when we take that step, when we just say, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm just going to serve, no matter how scared I am, no matter how uncomfortable I am, that love just takes over. And that love for other people, that love for God, makes those things that we would never do in a million years, suddenly we're willing to do it. And so I say you have to just jump in. Well, I know that in the creative arts ministry, we have people who have so many different giftings and so many different talents, and they'll say, oh, I could never get on a stage, or I could never get in front of people and do this or that. But we do have a young woman who has started helping back in the East Station with their music and all of that. And I see her back there now, and she has no inhibition. She's back there, she's jumping around with the kids, they know her by name. She knows the parents are comfortable and they're happy that, you know, this young lady is back there and using her giftings with their kids, and I just see joy all over her face every week that she's scheduled back there. So from someone who is saying, I want to be used, but I don't really know like how I can be used, and then to find a position for her that allows her to be all who she is and all who God created her to be, to see her in that role is so rewarding. And I think she is seeing that she is absolutely needed and wanted and loved in that role. Well, we say things like, I can only be used with adults, or I'm not good with kids, or I'm only used to being in the big chapel, and we limit ourselves because we only can see in ourselves what we can see. But when other people see value in us, when other people see our giftings, when other people see what we're good at, and they challenge us to do something that seems completely opposite, and we do it, then there's like this whole other side of us that we didn't know existed. And it's something that is powerful, not just for us individually, but for the kingdom, and helping other people see who Jesus is. So I think we lean into each other as a community and say, okay, I know what I'm good at. What do you see in me? And allowing people to speak that life into us is so huge. Well, I know that when I first felt called to take on the project, the biggest thing that I realized that I didn't have was any sort of resource. I had the dream. I knew the Lord had laid it on my heart to do something for this family. I knew there were immediate needs that needed to be done, and I had no clue how to do it. And so I literally just told the Lord, I have nothing to offer except I know a lot of people. And so my first thought was, when I came into work at Horizon, into the office, was, this is a place of great people and great networking. I'm just going to put the need out there and see what we get. And so I sat in our prayer circle, weeping over the situation and saying, I've got to do something, and here's what I need. And I knew immediately that we needed a roof, because it's winter coming and the roof is a mess. And so I sat in the circle and I just asked all of our amazing staff at Horizon, I need help. And before I knew it, I had an email from Amy Rieger, our student ministries director, emailing me and saying, hey, I think that I can help you. And she gave me a list of some people, and one of those people was Tom Bolt, who works with our student ministries here at Horizon, and he also owns a roofing and siding company. And so before I could even blink, I had a message from Tom saying, I think I can help, and I want to help. So through this whole process of just seeing God work, Tom starts asking for things I don't think that he even knew he could get, and one of that was, hey, we need free materials to put this roof on. And I went up to him a couple weeks into all of this and said, Tom, how are you doing? How's it going? And I just see his face light up, and he's like, Natalie, like, I'm with boldness asking for things, not expecting to get anything, and I'm just getting it. Like, God is so good. Look what God is doing. And through Tom, honestly, he's the one, as I watched this happen in his life, I thought, man, if this is happening for Tom, this will happen for other people who are willing to just put themselves out there and make the big ask. I need this for this purpose. Can you do it for me? Watching the Lord work through Tom is what actually gave me the confidence to start going to other contractors and saying, I need this, you have the resources, let's do it. And watching those people gain confidence in who God is and his faithfulness was contagious. And it just continued to spread, not only through our church community, but throughout the entire community. And it's contagious when you see it work for one person. You see, hey, I can do this too. I just need to be bold enough to ask. We have not because we ask not. When you put it out there, this is for a good cause. This is for the Lord. This is a kingdom thing. There's something that people want to be part of that, I had gone over to see Lynn. I had gone over to her house the day after it happened, just to make sure she was okay. What did she need? I mean, what did people need? It was such a hollow question at the time.
What do you do? You give them an apple pie.
Right. So when I walked into her home, I had never really been in all the way, and I walked in and I saw that they were in the middle of a complete home demolition. They had a refrigerator and a stove in their formal living area that Dan had just bought right before he was killed, and it was just sitting there. And there were cabinets half hung. There were old kitchen and new kitchen supplies everywhere. And I just thought, she's living in chaos while chaos is happening. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of grief and loss. I didn't even know what I could do to help. And I went home and I was sitting in my office and I was looking at social media and I'm thinking, okay, social media is our greatest source of information and resources these days. We have to do something. And I was asking God, I was so angry that this whole thing happened. I was like, God, why would you let something like this happen to Dan? He was a good man. He loved you. He loved people. He was like your greatest source of hope, you know, in the form of man, you know, on earth. Why would you take him? And I was just sort of looking and I felt like complete chaos. And I felt like the Lord said, look, I created you. What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do? And I just was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I just thought, okay, they need a kitchen. Who do I know that can help me get a kitchen? And so in that moment, I called Channel 5 and I said, I'm thinking that I wanna put a positive spin on the story, but I don't know what to do. I said, if I did some sort of a makeover for this family, would you guys wanna be part of it? And they're like, well, we can't be part of it, but we want to cover it. We want to cover it because we want some good to come from this. So if you put it together, we will make sure that we come back with this story being a story of hope. And I said, okay, Jesus, Dan would want you to shine through this, so we're going to make you known. We're going to make Jesus known through this tragedy. And so I called my neighbor, who is a great event planner, and I said, this is what I'm thinking. We just need to get our kitchen done. Let's just see if we can get our kitchen done. And within 24 hours, I had a kitchen. And I thought, okay, if I can get a kitchen, what else can I get? So I created a Facebook page.
You get all that good energy going. And
yeah, it was like,
I don't want it to stop. I want it to
right. And people were saying, what can I do to help? And I was getting emails from people. And so I created a Facebook page called the Dan Muscarella Extreme Home Makeover Project. And I said, there are needs that need to be met and we want to help. So if you can help at all. And within an hour, I had about 120 people that were on the page, friends and family, church members of Dan, and they all were just writing in, well, I know a guy who does this, and I know a guy who does that, and I know a guy who does this. Here's the phone number to this person, and here's the email to this person, and I just found out we have brand new windows, and they're coming from this place, and I've got a couch coming from this place, and it was overwhelming. That was probably around October 12th, and by November 15th, the date, we had every single need met from the roof to the furnace in the basement. And it was all because we put out there, we need help. This man made a difference in the community. We want to make a difference for him. And like I said, crazy love compels us to do crazy things. People were donating thousands of dollars worth of time and resources and energy. Neighbors who didn't even know this family were coming down and helping. I mean, it was just incredible. So, you know, like I said, you put the need out there and people are eager to help. Everybody wants to feel like they're doing something good. And we think we live in a sad world. We think we live in a world that is hopeless. But this scenario alone shows us that people want to do something good and they want to feel like they're making an impact in the world. And I just feel like we don't give people enough opportunities. We know that faith is the evidence of things hoped for, and the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And when I was praying over all of this and saying, okay, Lord, I don't have the resources, I felt like he was just telling me, you know, Natalie, you've got to posture yourself to receive. I didn't know what that meant. And so I started looking up some scripture and I found the Beatitudes. And, you know, basically faith takes a moment of humility where we get down on our face before the Lord and we say, in my flesh, I have nothing. I don't have a lot of money. I don't know how to put a new roof on. I don't know how to make the pain of this tragedy go away. But I have faith because I have hope that I have a God who can do exceedingly and abundantly more than anything that I in the flesh or this world has to offer. So I'm going to posture myself to receive, and that is complete dependency on God. It's blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Blessed are those who are at the end of their rope. Blessed are those who have seen just tragedy take place, but who have a hope and a peace in who God is. And so this faith for me has not just become a word that I throw around, but faith has become a posture of complete dependency on that hope. And the evidence that God allows us to see that He is at work. And through this situation, I saw the evidence that He was at work through the humanitarian efforts and the love and the giving of time, talent, and treasure of His people who know Him as their Savior, and people who are still trying to figure out who this God is. I saw it come together as one, and that is where my faith was restored in a lot of ways in man and God's people and community, but also in my relationship with God, and saying, you're right, God, like faith is a substance of things hoped for. And it's the evidence of things that I can't see right now, but that I believe you're going to reveal to me over time. And so that's been the eye-opening thing for me. I love how in the Bible that Jesus says that they'll know you are my disciples by your love for one another. He doesn't say anything else, just love. Love is how they're going to know that you follow me, that you know me. Because the love of God is so authentic, and it's without pretense, and it's without asking for anything in return. And when we take on the love of God the way that He loves us, and we project that onto the people around us who are in need of this great love, we don't ask for anything in return either. We throw ourselves recklessly into something that we don't know where it begins and where it ends, but we throw ourselves into these situations and say, without asking for anything in return, not a dime, I don't want my name in lights, I don't want anyone to know that I'm even doing this. I just want to be an example of this godly love and show people who God is through this random act of kindness, this random act of generosity that I know that if Jesus were walking the earth right now, He would be at that work site with his sleeves rolled up, with every resource in his tool belt, and He would be getting dirty with us, asking for nothing in return, asking for nothing except that His name be known, that He is a God of love and a God who continues to love, and it just keeps going on and on. And so I saw through this project the love of God in man. And as a result, I believe God was made known. Whether His name was said or not, people knew that those working on this project knew something different than what they knew. And they may not be able to put their finger on it, but the love of God was shown through this project. You know, I always imagine that scene in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, when Harrison Ford is getting ready to step off the ledge. Is that the right movie?
I believe so.
And they have to trust that there's something there, something that is going to catch them. It's not, you can't see it, but you've heard it's there. And the only other option is to turn around and go back from where you came. But there's a very real enemy, a very real life that is pursuing us to that cliff. And we only have one choice, and that is to just take the step. And to say, I don't know what's going to happen when I do it, but I know it's got to be better than where I came from. And when it comes to God's love and the story of who God is and what His Word says He is, I have to choose to believe that and to step into that, knowing that what's behind me is no better, and it's certainly not getting any better, but yet there's this hope that if I just take this step, that I'm not going to fall. And I know that there are a lot of people right now who are saying, if I take this step, I don't know what's going to happen. But I would say, trust me, that that first step, although it's the most scary, it will bring you the most hope, because you will realize that this is a God who doesn't let us fall. And that turning around and going back to where you came from is not the answer. But taking that step and saying, all right, here it goes. If you do have to fall a little bit, it's the greatest free fall of your life. With this project in particular, seeing that there are people in communities that care so much about people, that's what has really ended up being encouraging. Like Anderson now has a website called Anderson Cares, and it's just for Anderson. So if moms need clothes for their kids, if they need food, this is a bunch of believers coming together on this one Facebook site to meet the needs this Christmas season and into the entire year. So food and clothing and shoes and toys, you know, it's a catalyst. So we see one good thing happening, and from it spawns all these other areas where people are saying, oh my goodness, if that was just one need, Lynn Muscarella, can you imagine what the other needs are? So I just think it's contagious. You know, I think sometimes service is a one-time deal. We sign up to go on the week-long trip. We sign up to fill up a box. We sign up to take a family for Christmas. But when someone has experienced tremendous loss through death, a tragic death regardless is tragic, but through a sudden tragic death, this is an ongoing process. When we are called to serve the widows and the orphans, it's not just a one-time thing, and especially when it's within your community, in my case right next door, this ministry goes beyond just a day of extreme home makeover work. This is an ongoing process and a ministry where the Lord puts in your heart a ministry for that person, and you have to be obedient no matter how difficult it is, how sad it is, how tragic it is, to walk this out with them. And so with Lynn right now, there are other needs that need to be there. She needs friendship. She needs to still receive cards of encouragement in the mail. She needs to know that the community didn't just come together for one day, but that are constantly thinking of her and praying for her. You know, we still have some yard work that's gonna need to be done because she doesn't know how to work a lawnmower, and you know, so we have jobs this spring like that, landscaping, and how do you disconnect a hose in the winter so that it doesn't freeze, and how do you start a grill, and how do you maintain a home when your husband has done it for so many years. And so this is an ongoing ministry. Jesus has called us to serve the poor, the orphan, the widow, and if he tugs at our hearts to do any of those, we have to be obedient to fulfill that call. That is what we are here to do. And so for Lynn, I say this is an ongoing ministry, and as far as I'm concerned, we need to love her until the very end and show her how much Jesus loves her.